So we're going to need to manufacture some parts, order some parts, order some supplies, and provide some tools way back here. So things you need to 3D print are the stems and the caps. Make sure you use a quality printer. I use a bamboo to print these things out. And to test if it came out right, I take my fin and try to push it in one of the slots. And if it goes in there nicely, then I know it's a good print. Okay? If it won't ever go in there or too fat or like there's stuff in there, then I'm going to need to use a better printer or modify the settings to make sure that the gills will fit. So 3D print the caps, the stems, okay? And then at a 1/4 inch acrylic, you're going to need a laser cut, at least 16 of these. I'd suggest 20 of them per kit because, you know, you might drop one, you might mess one up, you might pull one in backwards and have to pull it out, right? So people who haven't tried it or made things before can make a lot of mistakes, and it would suck to have a missing tooth, right, or a missing gill in your mushroom. So probably print 20 of these. Okay, those are things you manufacture yourself. Then you got to supply these 4 things for every kit. So you need a power supply, right? This is 5 volts, 3 amps. You can also use 5 volts, 2 amps. Oh, this is 5 volts, 2 amps. Okay, that's going to be just fine for this. And then you need a pigtail, something that actually plugs into the power supply, right? Okay, this is 5.5 barrel plugs. That's pretty much common on power supplies. And this one has the wires like pre-tinned, like ready to go. Some of them are just literally the wire, and you're gonna have to strip off the sleeve and then strip off little pieces on the end to wire it. So they come in both kinds. You can prep them, you can make them, strip them themselves, whatever. Just be aware that they come in different types. Okay. And then we have the brain. This is a D1 Mini. Okay. And it comes with all this extra stuff. Toss it or put it in a bin, right? I personally have way too much of these, so I toss them, but you might want to keep them for things. But this is the brain here. Okay. ESP8266 D1 Mini is what it's called, and it comes in a bunch of different like types. This one has a little connector on the side, doesn't really matter, and it's a USB-C. They might come in USB micro. Yeah, they come in different form factors, but this is my preferred chip for this class. And you can use like ESP32 S3s as long as it'll fit inside this little hole here, the slot, right? You can use it. And then you have the ring itself. So this is a 16 pixel ring. They come in different sizes though, and so I'll link the actual one that I use on the bottom of this video. But it's very important that you get the right size, or else it will not fit in the slot here. Okay. So those are all the parts that go into the mushroom. Next thing you need is the supplies. So you need wire. I suggest the Remington 24 gauge 300 volt PVC. Okay. They come in silicone jackets. I don't like the silicone. They're a little too wobbly for this. So I like the PVC jacket, 300 volts. So the thicker jacket, and 24 gauge, which is plenty thick. First of all, it's small enough to fit through these holes here, right? But it's thick enough to carry power. So that's what I suggest. Next thing you need is super glue. Okay, I have accelerator here also, but the Bob Smith, right? Bob Smith super glue, which I usually distribute into these little bottles here, and then I just put like a little bit, like there's a 1/4 inch or so. Let's see if I can show that. Yeah, there's about a 1/4 inch of it there, which is plenty to do like 3 or 4 mushrooms. And then I have accelerator here, which is optional, but it's really nice. You know, you just drop it in there and it sets. And also how to use it in a little bit. Okay, then we have the bottle for the accelerator. So I'm not like taking this whole bottle and like splashing the thing. It's actually got if you look on Amazon, needle bottle will bring these up. And so I literally put like 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch. Yeah, it won't probably show on there. It's a little too milky. But just the tiniest little bit on bottom, and then like if you spill it, if we waste it, whatever. But you don't need to put a ton in here. Okay. Okay. So then we're talking about tools next. Put those to the side. And first of all, clippers, right? Flush cutters are really nice. You're going to need to clean up the sides of the ring, okay? And then you're going to need to cut some of the wires coming out of your brain here, your ESP 826061 mini. And sometimes the cap, often the cap, there's let's see if we can get that. There we go. The stuff over here. Like the ring needs to sit flush, but if you print it without support, which I like to do, you might have some drool, and you're gonna need to cut that out so it's flat. And who cares how ugly it looks down there, right? Because you're gonna have the ring covering it, so no one will know. Okay. And of course, your wire strippers. Make sure they're small enough gauge for the wire. And if you're gonna be cutting your pigtail, make sure they're big enough gauge to do your pigtail, or have another set for the pigtail. Okay. So wire cutters, flush cutters, or sorry, wire strippers and flush cutters, and then the soldering iron. Okay. So make sure your soldering iron's in good condition. So soldering iron, solder, brass wool. I typically don't let people use a sponge or the wool during the class, especially if they're like doing this for their first time. No wool, no sponge. So make sure your tip is actually clean and good, right? If you know you're pulling your soldering out of the door and your tip is black, you have an issue. You're gonna need to either pick up some tip thinner, which is like $3 on Amazon, or you're gonna need to buy a new tip, which they're like $5 on Amazon. I prefer, if your tip is like black and just bad, just buy a whole new tip, start fresh. Okay. Now, people have a habit. This is one thing you're gonna have to watch while running the class. People like to clean it and put it away, right? They'll clean it and put it away. That's the worst thing you can do to a soldering iron. You never want that tip exposed to air, especially at heat. Once the tip is exposed to air, it starts corroding. So if you do clean it, always add a little bit of solder, right? So it'd be clean, fresh solder, put it away, or, solder stuff, put it away. And then if it's dirty, clean it, add solder, start soldering. But never put it away clean, because it will ruin that. Okay, I like the Wellers. They have a new one, the digital ones, which are, they're just about as nice as these. These used to be like $300. The digital ones are $120, and they seem to be just as nice. Hakos are also cool. If you have like the small little ones that power off USB, you're gonna have to be a little more patient with those. I set mine to 700. If you have the small ones, you might need to set them to like 750. Give them a little extra boost for the heat. But you should never need to go above 750. If you're soldering at like 800, 850, that's way too hot. You're gonna ruin your tip. You're going to we'll talk about that, what the smoke means. But yeah, you're gonna lose all your rosin really fast. So that's all the parts you need. As long as you have that, your soldering irons are ready to go. At 700 degrees, you can start running this class, or you're ready to make it yourself. Thanks for watching.